Yeah, people are joining, and why don't just we make a start? Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. This is another episode of .NET Morning Coffee. Today, as usual, we prepared some interesting stuff for you to share, and let's get started. So let's start from probably the most interesting updates from Microsoft Build. So Microsoft Build happened in the middle of May. And there were a bunch of .NET related sessions and obviously tons of AI. So how can you just, okay, so you don't have time to watch, to go through all the agenda, seek for some updates from Microsoft Build by watching videos. So what you can do, you can go through this book of news, and you can quickly read this article to get some understanding of what was announced on this Microsoft Build conference, and maybe just pick up what is really interesting for you, and just go and do some dive research. So, folks, what did you like on Microsoft Build? What impressed you a lot? Alex, Artur? Nothing? You were not impressed?
Nothing super impressive.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
are a lot of interesting sessions, but it's all
Yeah.
about AI.
Yeah. So even if we take a look at this table of content, open like random things, we will see that there will be AI everywhere. So how about this AI Foundry? Artur, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, maybe it's one of the interesting product yet that was introduced. Like Microsoft, I believe it's a new provider for hosting your models, like Azure AI Foundry, and you're able to choose one of them. And also they introduce AI Foundry locally. It's a tool that can host some small models on your laptop. Yeah, so you're able to test or maybe make some POC locally. You don't need to Llama, for instance. You're able to use AI Foundry locally. Moreover, it's cross. It's cross-platform. So if you don't have, for instance, if you don't have GPU, you will download the model that applicable for CPU, and so you don't need to care about it because they use Onyx runtime for CPU AI models. So you don't need to care about it, and applicable model will be available for you.
Yeah, obviously it will work slower, right, than GPU-powered models.
Of course, but some quantization will help you to run it more faster. Yeah, but yes, of course, it's slower than.
Yeah. Okay. So what else? So obviously we are .NET developers. We're interested mostly in .NET topics from Microsoft Build. And here is an article describing all the .NET sessions that happened during the build. There is even a list, a link to playlist on YouTube where all .NET related, well, at least somehow related sessions are collected. So I watched a couple of them. Really enjoyed as usual. Volodya, you know what I enjoyed? The session of Taupe and Scott Hanselman. So yeah. So did you watch it as well?
Oh yeah, I suppose it's favorite one for a lot of.
Yeah. What did they talk about? Just advertise us.
Shown how to re-implement channels, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, system treating channels class. This is producer consumer right? Thread safe producer or consumer mechanism that exists in .NET.
And the most interesting part was when he made a joke about too much AI, and it was very well accepted by audience of this session.
Yeah, seems like a lot of people recognize that it was like too much of AI, and it's like even there is a kind of dissatisfaction because of that there was not enough another content. Yeah, obviously AI is a hot topic, but we shouldn't forget about other technologies. So I watched this one. We will have a separate article. Normal project files. It's about upcoming .NET 10 feature. And there will be a capability to work with .NET without having CSProc files. Well, it's currently possible, but a little bit complicated, right? So adding some NuGet packages, well, it will be very painful, I would say, or having multi-file projects also will be painful. So starting from .NET 10, seems like we will have an opportunity to work with .NET and with C# without ADA and without MS Build. Well, maybe MS Build is involved somehow in the background, but without project files, for sure. Solution project files. Really interesting session. Yeah. So
additional point is that not just it's not about you can run without project files. You can run like once it's implemented in .NET 9, 10 and level available for everyone. You can run C# files as bash scripts.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
run .NET, run and file name, so it can be kind of competitor to bash scripting, to PowerShell scripting, because you don't have to learn it anymore. You can use what you know already.
Yeah, this is an article about that. Just some examples.
It's a pity that they didn't explain how it works, because yeah, there's a magic, but like, where is compiler? Like, do we need to take the whole SDK together with us? It's not explained.
Yeah, and I was really impressed how Damian Edwards, this was the guy who presented, he showed that on Linux it is possible to make just a CS file an executable file. You mean, did you get it? So you can run this file as a Linux utility.
Yeah,
just CS file.
That's no point.
Yeah,
and it works on top. Like, it's the same way as kind of alternative to bash script. You can
yeah. This is what you are talking about.
File, that's all.
Yeah. This is what we are talking about. So this is how to make .NET. So this is how you can use .NET in this bash way, right? And this is how you can then make your just CS file, make an executable file, and run it as an executable. Really exciting. Would like to try it out. I think especially it will be the target audience will be just like people who are starting learning C#, so they will be able to run, let's say, minimal APIs in just one file without IDE. So like really few lines of code, minimal installation, minimal setup, and that's it.
I would say they also will be useful, at least for me. For example, if I need to try something, I'm using
LinkPad.
LinkPad, yes, right. Yeah. LinkPad, and probably with this feature will be not necessary to run it.
Yeah. Right. There was also a talk about C#14. Again, another attempt to explain what is happening with extension methods. Some other things worth to watch for sure. ASP.NET Core session seems like in .NET 10 they will focus again on the performance. That's cool. Performance, security, some other things, improving of the minimal APIs. Yeah, definitely worth to explore what is interesting for you. Just pick up the areas that you really want to do the dive. Okay, so that was Microsoft Build. Again, this year wasn't full of announcements and etc. There were some interesting sessions, and we should explore, watch, but really, in such a small time frame, basically we covered everything.
The most interesting announcement didn't happen on a session related to Visual Studio history. I was expecting that they will announce Visual Studio next, like 2025 or 2026 or
They didn't do
whatever. Yeah, but they provided some hints on Visual Studio Preview release notes page that news are coming soon this summer. So let's wait.
Okay, so we need to wait a little bit. Okay, so let's move on. Drama block. This is where we are talking about some scandals that are happening in .NET area, and it's quite often related to some licensing things and etc. So today we have 3 pieces. This one, this post on Reddit, Volodya, correct me if I'm wrong, appeared right after the build. On build, Microsoft announced that they enabled agents to contribute to .NET repositories. And in this post, one guy is talking about that his new hobby is to enjoy watching the pull requests and the attempts of human maintainers, to convince the AI to make a proper job on the pull requests, right? So let's just quickly watch what is happening here. Just a few examples. Here is like a lot of reactions, a lot of jokes here in the comments. So for example, if we go to files, change it. So this is the pull request that was proposed by AI. And here we can see a lot of attempts to convince like the Copilot, the agent, to make the job in a proper way. Like we can see here some strange changes, like just brackets, unnecessary brackets, like, and etc. Like really a lot of fun is happening here. For example, yes. So it also tries to put some comments to explain. I mean, the agent tries to put some comments to explain the desired why this functionality in place. For example, if you read this comment, you will see that by checking a version of the operational system, it tried to determine the proper version of the macOS, and in the comments, if you read the comments, you will realize that it's completely wrong, and there are a lot of traps with this logic, so it will not work according to the desired intent. Volodya, would you like to highlight something from these pull requests?
I'd say that there are few outcomes or few main points to highlight. That comments from Steven Tapp are correct. Seems like they just misconfigured integration of Copilot, and it wasn't able to properly pull and build the repository and run tests, so it went crazy and tried to fix something which it wasn't able to fix. But reaction from community is hilarious. It's absolutely correct and represents,
the current state, right?
Yeah,
of this technology.
Current state and opinions and attitude towards such efforts. And at this current state, and I don't think that it makes sense to spend time with such people as Steven to try to help Copilot to do some things. Like he can spend it much more productive.
Yeah. So for example, in this one, so really just one line of change. Well, not one line, a few, but there are also tests generated. And then if we take a look at the conversation happening here, so the first comment from Steven was, please fix style issues, casting build fails, and move the new tests into existing test file. So then there was another attempt by Copilot AI agent, and then Steven Taub has to ask him to fix the tests that started failing after the changes. And yeah, so as you can see, it didn't work as it was expected. So maybe they shouldn't make this publicly available and test internally. But maybe the situation improved today. Maybe after they granted more permissions and reconfigured the agent, maybe it started working a little bit better. So this
actually, the worst part of such pull requests and activities is not just spend time of some employees. It's a decrease of trust and perception across community. Like if people see that, okay, Microsoft is too dumb to allow agents to contribute code to such important repository as .NET Runtime. Probably we shouldn't trust .NET Runtime anymore. Probably should switch to something else, to Java, which is too old to be able to contribute to allow contributions from such, or maybe to bureaucracies. So
agree.
Let's see. But on the bright side, I checked the repositories, and a few weeks later they were able to configure it properly, and it even created 1 or 2 pull requests to ASP.NET Core Runtime, and employee was quite happy with the result, but it's still not merged. So let's see where it goes, but I don't think it will be used a lot, because .NET Runtime and ASP.NET Core repositories is not such kind of repository where there are a lot of low-hanging fruits and easy to fix issues or feature requests. It requires understanding of code base, platform, what to contribute, where to contribute, and especially considering amount of people who want to contribute and they are looking for easy tickets to start with. If the tickets will be closed by AI, there will be no new contributors. No new contributors means that old contributors will go away over time, and there is no one who can replace them. So it's short-term gains, which doesn't play well.
Maybe that's not the best target for AI agents. Well, yeah, let's see what will happen. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. This is an article when Microsoft is telling a story how they switched from Windows, how they modernizing Office using React Native. So the drama of this decision is that they are not using anything produced by, let's say, .NET team, right? So they decided to use third-party technology, and in this article, they are telling how good is it. So they didn't use like WPF. Well, obviously WPF is outdated.
Well, to be precise, it's not third-party technology. It's their fork of React Native with added support of Windows, but it's just another team inside Microsoft. And we all know that teams in Microsoft are competitors to each other, so one team won over another.
Yeah. Since main start menu already implemented with React Native, they suppose found it not so bad to also include it into main Office product too.
Yeah. So basically, this is like the picture describing what is happening here. This is Windows native, where .NET lives, and this is cross-platform. .NET MAUI is here, and it is not used. And React Native, that's what was the choice. I think, and well, we talked about that internally. This is a lost opportunity to improve the quality of, let's say, .NET MAUI if they wanted to make it cross-platform, or WinUI. Not sure what is happening with this WinUI thing, and why it exists at all if nobody uses it. So it seems like this is a lost opportunity.
It's a nice diagram showing basically dead man list, like dead, almost dead, almost dead, dead already, will be dead soon.
Okay. Right. The last one in this block. This time this is about licensing, right? Alexander, are you upset with this Avalonia decision?
I would say that yes. I mean, it is a great product, and
It is.
right, and they want to gain some money, and it is not bad, I would say. So the Avalonia itself, it will be they stay free for us, for everyone.
But it will be unusable, right? If you can't use it with your IDE, then what's the reason?
You'll be able to use it with your ID. I mean,
By paying those guys some money.
I suppose they are talking about the extended utility, not just the basic one.
They have
Okay.
few options because they
yeah.
want to sunset and put into maintenance mode existing open source and free to use extension for EDAs. So they have few options to provide basic capabilities of existing extensions for free and additional capabilities for paid license, or put everything under paid license, or kind of put everything under paid license but provide some old kind of 1 year and more old capabilities for free after some time. So it's up to the community to decide to vote for this.
Kind of sure that they will stay with let's call it current approach. The tooling which is free will stay free. Something new or something kind of extended or more professional will be paid. So
It will be better for them.
I wouldn't say that we'll suffer just using it. Maybe in production, if you're really building something serious, it makes sense to pay for support and for better debugging utility or so. But for that project or just for coding, that will be enough.
Seems like they hit kind of chicken egg problem when they want to develop, to maintain, to extend Avalonia, but they cannot do it for free. They need to be paid. But to be paid, they need to sell something. But they cannot turn current extension into full paid version because otherwise there will be no adoption. And no adoption, no new user, no new users, no sales. No sales, no money, no maintenance. So they need to decide.
Yeah, really strange. But I suppose they just provided this option because it is option just to provide. But in reality, they will not do it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, let's see what will happen. Anyway, I do remember how this project was consist of enthusiastic people who wanted to make something like open source available cross-platform for .NET, and right now they are seeking the ways to get some money of it. So it seems like today we are not living in the times, in the era when just being a person who just want to make the technologies, just make a great project, make a great technologies. We are not living in the era of enthusiastic people. Everyone just want to get some money.
Yeah.
Well, sad, but it's reality. Okay. Let's move on. .NET Platform articles, and this one it's about .NET 5 preview. To be honest, not too many updates here. Just minor tweaks.
Very few.
Very few in C#. It's one minor addition. So you will be able to override those compound assignment operators like plus equals or like they are listed here. So basically currently it's not possible. It will be possible. Seems like it will be possible in the next C# release. What else? Really nothing to talk about in ASP.NET Core, just minor improvements, Open API improvements. MAUI.
Some metrics here for Blazor was added.
Okay. Entity framework. Really minor release. And we've covered pretty much everything. Like what is the most interesting? Okay. What else is here? What else do we have? This is about, so previous time we talked about the extensions, new ways of extending classes, and in this article, one guy described a potential use case for extensions, new extensions. For example, you will be able to write guard methods. So currently we have some guard methods like throw if now for argument exception class. And you can extend those classes and add more guard methods. So that's one of the use cases discovered by the community.
And also, yeah, if you talk about why we are not able to do the same with, for instance, this keyword, yeah, with the standard extensions, because in this case, you need to have the instance of argument exception class. But now you are able to just call the throw if has one character without the instance. And it will look the similar like we have from Microsoft.
Yeah, so basically, so you are extending statically the class through static methods. So with the current approach, you can just do it using instance way, right? Okay. This one we've already talked. This is interesting. Circuit breaker policy fine-tuning best practice. So this is widely adopted way of improving like your communications in the microservice environments. And we have a resiliency package from Microsoft. We can add it. It has some reasonable default values, and it has also a circuit breaker policy. But time to time, you may notice some bad behaviors of your system because of this circuit breaker. For example, on our project, we solved some of the issues because of the circuit breaker. And here is in this article, this is very useful article. Really recommend to go through it to everyone who has circuit breaker on the project. So it explains all the parameters that we have in circuit breaker. And it also explains potential pitfalls that you might face in case if you configure it incorrectly or add in the situation when you really don't need to add. For example, there are some recommendations. So let's say if you have microservice and it has only one very highly used endpoint, then it's better not to add the circuit breaker or configure it very precisely, because it might cause some false positives, and like very highly used service will be just disabled because of this circuit breaker configured incorrectly for this specific case.
Really such articles are very useful because usually people tend to just introduce circuit breaker and just introduce retry policy, and it backfires and makes the restore operation even worse when something goes wrong. It creates additional spam, retry storm, or some completely closed circuit breakers for time longer than people expected. So like sometimes it's better to not introduce anything and fail fast, propagate, and let handle on the very beginning on the client side. So it's very dangerous things.
Yeah, again, so just it could be false positive, and then the bracket is open, the circuit breaker is open, and like the service is not available for the consumers for a long time. So we had this on the project. We have a lot of microservices, and we had this problem.
And we had a problem with retry policies when one of our consuming services implemented timeouts with retries. Our service started to respond slower than usual, and they generated 3 times more load, making the response time even worse. And the whole thing broken at this point.
Okay, this one I really didn't know that it exists. Emitting logs on demand with log buffering from Evgeny Fedorov.
Yeah, I can say why I don't know that it exists, because it's provided as an extension library, not
It is, yes, and in a very strange library, I would say.
It's a Microsoft, They have Microsoft extension logging, which is inside SDK, but also they have Microsoft extensions, observability or monitoring or something like that, which is hosted inside .NET extension repo, and they use it as kind of laboratory for some useful things before they try to appear in main SDK, but they might never appear in main SDK, so they use it as a kind of excuse for absence of some useful features in main SDK.
It's an essential thing. So currently, let's say you have logs that are pushed to, let's say, third-party observability system like New Relic. Obviously, you would like to have some buffering, so you probably don't want to push logs immediately after you send some logs. So you probably want to buffer them and then flush in the batches. So with the defaults that we currently have, it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. But you can easily enable logs buffering by configuring it through this add global buffer option for login property of your web host builder. And you can really fine tune it. You can, let's say, add rules that only specific parts of logs will be buffered. For example, you considering logs as critical things, you want to push most of them as soon as possible to your centralized collector, right? But for some parts that are not as important, you probably want just to buffer them, and you are okay with the fact that they might be lost. Yeah, you can fine-tune this global buffering thing really easily. This is an example, and it exists in .NET 9. I was really surprised. But to enable it, you need to add these 2 specific packages that Volodya was talking about. So you need to have Microsoft extensions telemetry. Not sure why telemetry, but okay. And then you can add some buffering for your, so you can flush your logs after the request is ended. So I think I will add this on my projects because this is very useful, and we have this situation with New Relic. And what you can do, you can configure your automatic flushing to your centralized log collectors once the request is ended. So you are not
how it works, because by default SDK doesn't provide any push approaches for logging, and such push integrations are usually done by some additional package like Serilog, for example. So how well it integrates with Serilog, because Serilog might have some buffering inside with some configuration inside.
Yeah, it's worth to investigate, but at least it exists.
But you need to be very careful with buffering. Recently, on my project,
you had some
working
issues,
on
right?
I had some issues, but not with log buffering, but with buffering of other messages. And it might create some kind of cascade failures, because you start buffering stuff, it consumes more memory, it goes to Gen2, collection starts to happen more frequently, take more time, performance degrades, other stuff starts to fail, and so
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for awareing me. Okay. .NET Aspire is evolving. Just a bunch of new functionality was delivered in 9.3. mostly related to AI capabilities. It's really hard to understand what's really added. Oh, okay. So YARP, yeah, YARP is added as a native extension. So obviously you probably was able to add YARP through some workarounds, but now you have this YARP thing that you can add really easily and configure it. Better container.
They added GitHub Copilot into
okay.
dashboard, yeah, because before we didn't have it. So now you're able to ask
Okay.
about your traces, about your logs.
Yeah.
And it was striking me because some days I thought why they didn't introduce this feature for analyzing your data with AI. And I thought, okay, I need to spend the time for investigation. But unfortunately, a few days later, they introduced GitHub Copilot for Aspire. But I believe it's so interesting when you're able to ask about your logs, about your traces, and it will provide some summarization, and provide some info about it.
Absolutely agree. Okay, and yeah, sorry, wanted about Aspire?
Yeah, and yes, they also added some context menu on the graph here that now you're able to move on, for instance, to some logs for a particular container. Yeah,
you
from
can
the
just
graph.
basically select the node and
Yes.
do some things with this node on the graph, not by switching to different view. That's handy, right? That's very handy. This is from Andrew Locke also about .NET Aspire, and here he's talking about the way to convert, how he converted basically Docker Compose files to the Aspire, because basically those things are very similar, right? But seems like today .NET Aspire is like for .NET, it's definitely more handy. And instead of using the Compose for running locally, you can use .NET, and you should probably use .NET Aspire, just better. Okay, that's platform updates. AI, few updates about AI. This one, yeah, let's start from this one. Evaluating content safety in your .NET AI applications. So, Artur, can you quickly explain what is that?
Yeah, it's a predefined data sets that enable you to identify how your agent, for instance, is responsible. Yeah, because we need to identify was your response correct. I mean, regarding some unsafe data or maybe impolite behavior from the agent, etc. And instead of creating your own data set, you're able to rely on evaluation package and make some adjustments in the test to introduce it in your pipeline. So I believe it's so useful and
basically
reduce time.
If you have some chatbot capabilities, right, in your application, or you have some content generated by AI that you're presenting to the end users, you need to make sure that what was generated is safe, right? It's not offensive, no discrimination or something like that. And this is one of the ways how you can test, at least, to get some data. And this one, I think it's quite important one. It's the article about updating the .NET projects from version to higher versions, from like lower versions or outdated versions to the recent versions through the GitHub Copilot. And,
yes, we have some tool for upgrading your existing project.
Assistant, right?
Yeah, Upgrade Assistant, and Microsoft introduced a tool for GitHub Copilot agent. So now the GitHub Copilot is able to call this tool to start process for upgrading your project. Moreover, you will see some execution plan, what's going on here regarding your upgrading stuff. And so it's handy because you don't need to go step by step, because GitHub Copilot will do it more. And one of the feature, for instance, if something is wrong with upgrading your project and you identify some solution for it, and the GitHub Copilot will reuse this solution for the similar issues later. So you don't need to think about these issues later.
Okay, yeah, definitely could increase the speed of upgrade, and definitely a handy
But again,
tool.
it's a tool for GitHub Copilot, and you need to be sure that you enable this tool for GitHub Copilot in agent mode.
Yeah, so agent mode. So, by the way, we are going soon to explore agent mode AI capabilities on a separate session, so stay tuned. We will announce some new events. We hope it will be really interesting, because it is interesting for us to explore what can we achieve today using this AI capabilities, agent mode, how fast we can create applications using those tools. Let's see. Yeah, that will be a separate session soon. Okay, the last block, it's toolbox block. We have a couple of tools that we want to share, and maybe it could be interesting for you. So, Alexander, I think this came from you, and probably you tried. It's not very popular, you know, not a lot of stars. Let's give them a star.
Yes, right. Look, if you don't want or you don't like to use Microsoft extensions for Visual Studio Code for C#, you can try this one, because actually Microsoft extension is not for free for a production project, and you need to have Microsoft account. This one, surprisingly, working super good. It is capable to run all kind of projects. It has a nice UI to install NuGet packages, work with debugging. It supports decompilation, supports unit testing, and all this stuff. And of course, I was trying it. Yeah, as I said, surprisingly, it is working super good, and especially because there is only one author. There are two contributors, but mainly it is only one author from Yerevan who is developing this extension. That's super cool.
Yeah.
What is also interesting that the backend of this application is also written in C#, and basically it's just a Roslyn wrapper around the Roslyn, and it just exposed the language server protocol, and multiple editors can support it, because this extension, this concrete extension, is only for Visual Studio Code, but it also supports the NeoVim, as I remember, Z, which is not yet published for Windows but available for Linux, and something else, probably forgot. But yeah, at least it is available through Visual Studio Code, and it's possibly working fine. You can try it.
Okay, thanks for this finding. This one, it's
another try to rebuild something from scratch, and this attempted to build their own bicycle for to work UI utility to work with Postgres. Of course, it surprisingly supports Copilot inside the stuff. So kind of AI stuff. Basically, the functionality is the same as you have in the admin UI for
PG-admin.
PG-admin, right? Or probably in the dbeaver kind of. But additionally, it is powered up with Copilot features.
Okay, that's the most important one. Okay.
Yeah, if you read some comments below in this utility, so the people are starting to saying like, please better update the MS SQL tool with this functionality. Please do not create this one.
Okay. Right. What else? This one, it's it's
Yeah,
it's
it
nice.
is. Yeah, terminal editor. It looks really nice, and Microsoft created it again. New terminal editor. There are a lot of them. Microsoft decided to create their own. The main aim is that people is complaining about exiting from Vim editor. They can do it easily, how to close it, but this one you can close easily, just pressing the menu or Control Q to close
Because
it.
mouse is actually working.
Yeah,
right?
mouse working in the Vim 2 in the modern version.
Okay.
But anyway, so just nice terminal editor. It is still under development, so it is released, but it is, they are updating it, trying to add new features. And for me, the biggest gap because this UI doesn't support any syntax highlighting, even basic syntax highlighting based on regex. Without
Maybe
any,
they will improve it.
they're going to do this, and there is a issue in their GitHub repository. And this editor is written in Rust, and Rust has a couple of libraries that is able to provide just easily any syntax highlighting. But they're complaining about using them because of the size. So the smallest library, which will add support for syntax highlighting, consume about 22 megabytes. And they're complaining about it. Probably they will write their own syntax highlighter.
Okay.
Will they introduce GitHub Copilot for it?
Not yet, but
Because
supposedly
they introduced Copilot for just regular Notepad.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, but I believe they will introduce it for all tools inside of Windows ecosystem.
And this is like really gold, right? So, ZoomIt, I like it. So,
yeah, that's cool.
this is an
That's cool.
utility that is very widely used by Microsoft employees. They are using it during the presentation to do some zoom in on the go. It's really easy to use. You just install this utility. You can install it by downloading from archive, or you can use winget. Very small. It can be always run on startup, and then you, for example, using hotkeys like Control-1, you can zoom in, and then you can write something. You can write rectangles. You can show something like errors and etc. So you can put some text. It's just must have utility for people who are doing the presentations. Not sure why it's not a part of the Windows. Okay, so that's it for today. Any final words, guys? No final words. Just let's just wish everyone to have a lovely weekend then, and stay tuned. We will announce a few more upcoming events soon. It should be really interesting. And for now, thanks everyone. Yeah, do not forget to put some stars, to give some badges, stars to our speakers. Articles are available. So the links are available in article on our Product.NET community page. And that's it for today. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Yep. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.